What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now. And yo, I got a dope guest on today. Yeah, I got my man on the show today, and he's going to drop some bars. I don't think he can rap, though, but he gonna drop some bars, though. And my man is none other than Reggie Jenkins. And Reggie is a husband, a father. He's originally from Memphis, Tennessee. He's a community activist with almost 30 years dedicated to educating and empowering African-American youth. He's the creator and executive director of Uunik Academy, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the transformation of African-American youth. And today we're going to have a really just awesome conversation on his story, his background, his influences, but then also what he's doing now to really help shape, the minds of those that are following behind us. So fellas in the Black Fathers Now family, welcome my man, Reggie Jenkins. How you doing, brother?
What's going on? Finally, ain't no more cues.
Okay.
Black Father, purple and gold edition.
I'm wearing a purple shirt
here, man.
Oh, look, disclaimer, Reggie is a member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity.
Cues come through here, boy. I'm like, man, that's all he knows, cues. A couple alphas. I heard a couple alphas.
It's been a couple Sigmas on here too. You and
I know.
See, I try to spread the love, but I am very much heavily vested in the purple and gold. So we will be heavily represented. Most definitely.
It's your show. You can do whatever you want.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm glad you said that. But no, man, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. We had a few technical difficulties getting on here, but
yeah.
This is going to be well worth the wait. Yeah, I know I need to upgrade the computer and the operating.
You got to go Mac, buddy. Mac.
Man, until Mac pays.
Mac, you never go back.
Well, look, until Mac sponsors this podcast, I refuse to comment on that. But if they decide to sponsor, I will be all Mac.
We're going to have a Black Fathers fundraiser. That's what we're going to have to do. Some equipment. This is a good show, so.
But look at here, though. It's happening. We're putting it down.
I know.
But if said we're building it up with worn out tools, right?
Yep.
That's what's up, man. Well, yo, man. So first and foremost, as you know, you listen to the show. I like to have the brothers give shout outs because we better, butter our bread, where it's supposed to be buttered so that we, give credit to where credit is due. So first and foremost, man, give shout out to your fam, to your support system, to your team. Give some shout outs, man. Everybody that matters to you.
First and foremost, I got to give shout out to the missus, my wife, Kamisha Bourne Jenkins, my son, Jabari. Those are my rocks, my stable. Mm-hmm. My mom, my dad, my brothers, my sister, particularly my mom and my mother-in-law. It's Mother's Day coming up, so this show probably come on after Mother's Day, I'm pretty sure. But
we're recording before. Yeah, we're recording before.
But yeah, Mother's Day, my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, my family in Memphis, Florida, and everywhere else. My Uunik support system, of course, Mike D, he's on my board, all my other board members, all the kids that I serve, my parents. It's just I get a lot of support from Knoxville, so much love to K-Town, Knox Vegas.
Awesome. I appreciate that, man. And, definitely shout out to all those that are in your system because, we're only as good as our team and we're only as good as our support system. So, that's why I always make it a point to let brothers give a shout out because a lot of times, when we see somebody do things, we think that they're the only person doing it. But when you really get behind the scenes and you really talk to even like celebrities and all, I know we were at the Queen Latifah show when it was still on air years ago. And that episode of the show out in Los Angeles, Pharrell was a guest. And so it was actually pretty crazy because he performed Happy right before Happy became like the big song everybody heard. So he performed that. And one of the things in the interview, because Pharrell has that condition, I forgot what it's called, where you can like see colors and you can like see sounds or it's some kind of medical condition. And so they were like, well, you're a musical genius and you're this and you're that. Like, how do you do this? And how do you do it all? And Pharrell said something that was powerful. He said, if it was not for my team and the people around me, I would just be a kid from Virginia Beach with some good ideas.
Yeah.
Like, and so I think that's something that we need to, especially as Black men, to emphasize the fact that it's never going to be just you, Anybody who's doing anything, who's making waves, who's impacting the world, they're not flying on that plane by themselves.
Yeah, that's true. All successful people are a group of people. So it's cooperative effort. So, yeah, yes, sir. It's a quick point. I'm just sidetracking. You just made me think. Did you
Okay.
know that I read recently about Pharrell?
Mm-hmm.
His Happy songs, I think it was like 4 billion streams or 4 million, 4 billion. It was a large number.
Mm-hmm.
But he only got $2,700 from that.
Really?
Yes, and they actually considering suing YouTube because, you know, a lot of the content is free and people download it. So him and some other artists are considering to sue because they're not making money off the streaming stuff, man. And so they're trying to. That's why Jay-Z actually created Tidal.
Interesting.
More per stream as opposed to a lot of the other streaming avenues. But yeah, it's an article that just came out about that, about Pharrell and his. I forget how many streams it was, but
it had to be in the billions. It had to be in the billions.
Yeah, it's a $2,700 check. So
wow, yeah, that math don't add up.
I'm not saying he's struggling or anything. I'm just saying.
No, but that math don't add. And look, and you know, speaking of math, you know, you went to the University of Tennessee and you were a math major, correct?
Yes, sir.
Oh man, we're gonna jump into that a little bit too. And so, but before we get to kind of current stuff, let's take it back, man. Let's take it back to Memphis, Tennessee, man. Talk to us a little bit about, you know, you growing up in Memphis and the era in which you grew up in, and, you know, like some of your influences and, you know, maybe even like some memorable experiences that potentially led to, you know, something you're doing now, man.
Well, let's give a little known Black history fact for those who know me.
Okay.
But didn't know I was born in West Germany. Back in the day when they had West and East Germany, my father was in the military and he was stationed there, and I cannot remember the city. But my mom went to visit and I came out. So I wasn't there long, but my home is Memphis, Tennessee. I was just born in West Germany.
So you were born in Germany?
Yep.
I didn't know that. You got your papers, man?
Nah.
Let me see your birth certificate, man. Nah, just playing.
You know what? I had to go look at my birth certificate. I think it says that. I haven't even thought about looking at my birth certificate.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And that's a little layer, you know?
Yeah, I know I was born there, you know, my mom. And they got pictures of me over there when I was a baby or whatever. She stayed for a minute and then they came back. My family is originally from a little small town called Duncan, Mississippi.
Okay.
It's about 90 miles south of Memphis. And so that's an integral part of my childhood as well, because as a child, my mom and dad, of course, they live in Memphis, but as a child, since I was a toddler, they would drop me off to my grandmother's. My grandmothers lived probably a half a mile from each other. My father's mother, my mother's mother. In fact, my family, my mother's family and my father's family, they've known each other all their lives. My mother and daddy known each other all their lives.
Really?
And, you know, they have experience about sharecrop because they were still sharecropping back in those times. And so the families knew each other. So a lot of my childhood was growing up in Mississippi. I'm talking about cesspool. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about you know, roads just rocky roads and stuff like that. Small town. I'm talking about, you know, the church, the white church with the wooden pews, and, you know, just that small town. If people think of Gomer Pyle or Andy Griffith, it had that kind of feel.
Sound like the color purple to me. Sound about like the color purple.
Yeah, I guess. I'm trying not to be color purple. That's depressing. So.
I know. It was a happy memory.
I didn't have no Harpos growing up. I don't know if it was beating on the women. I don't know. I ain't saying that wasn't going on, but that wasn't part of my childhood.
That was like your existence. Yeah, like that.
I'm talking about, you know, I just have vague, the candy lady lived next door, talking about 5 cents, now laters, and Chico sticks, and all that kind of stuff. So that was really integral. My grandmothers had gardens. They had plum trees, pear trees, all these variety of trees. I remember the rooster waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, waking us up, rocking chairs. My grandmother, my father's mother, had this big bed with all this quilt on it. You had to run and jump on it. My father's mother didn't have a modern day bathroom until the mid 80s. So I grew up in a steel tub in the kitchen, pour the hot water in there, put some cold water in. That's where you took a bath. Those are my experiences as a child.
The outhouse too? So the
outhouse, yes, sir. It's got you know, if I ain't got no roof, I got an outhouse. I hated that experience, but It was what it was. So, you know, they had outhouses, man. So those both of my maternal and paternal grandparents were really integral in my life. A lot of my uncles and aunts were integral growing up back in the day. And so that's Mississippi going into Memphis. Growing up, I'm trying to think. It was a pretty cool childhood experience. It was cool up until a certain point. You know, people that know me know I have a mouth, and I have no problem expressing myself. But where I get that from is my father. My father is the same kind of man. He's very expressive. I know one time that my grandmother, I think they told me back in the day in Mississippi, you still couldn't talk to white men crazy back in the 50s and 60s. Mm-hmm. And my daddy was a little boy who was talking crazy to white people, but the only thing protect him because his mother, my grandmother was one of those strong figures in the community that black or white didn't mess with. And so, he got that honestly. So I got that from him. But I think 79, well, in the mid 70s, mid to late 70s, my father got laid off a job. And actually, he was trying to file this class action lawsuit against this company, popular company in Memphis. And what happened, long story short, it should have been a group of them, but everybody else fell out and he got stuck out there by himself and he got blackballed. So it kind of made it rough. So it was like a rough period growing up for me and my siblings, in that household because he was struggling. Because before then, my mother wasn't working. My mother stayed at home with us or whatever. And then when he went through that rough period, and it was a kind of a dark period in our family because, of course, the drinking, smoking, black men go through something. A lot of us don't know how to deal with it. So we
coping
devices, that kind of thing, and just kind of destabilize the family for a minute. So I went through that stuff. And, but, growing up, elementary school, middle school, I was the kind of kid, I wasn't a troublemaker. I just did what I needed to do. Because back in the day, we got whooping with switches and extension cords.
Man, look at here. Everything they could grab. If they could hold it in their hand.
I didn't want to do that. So, no, I didn't want to experience that kind of thing. So, I didn't get too many whippings because, like I said, that extension cord, that switch.
It take once.
Yeah, man. My grandmama had a willow tree, so you had to go, man, I wasn't trying to hear all that. So I stayed out of trouble for the most part. Good in school, elementary, middle school, quiet, shy. Actually, I was shy, man, up until my high school years. I was very shy and reserved kind of kid. I didn't hang out with a lot of people. I kept to myself. I was just a responsible kid to where, after so many years, my parents didn't really think, they didn't really worry about me because they just knew I was going to be responsible. And I got a reputation in schools as well. So, it was pretty cool, growing up, back in the day, you was outside until the street lights was out.
Yeah, it wasn't no technology. I mean, if you had cable television, it wasn't but 5 channels, so it wasn't the radio.
Yeah, we had 3 channels. I remember this like it's clear as day. We had ABC, NBC, CBS, and at midnight, all you heard was, ooh. So 6 o'clock in the morning, then you hear the Star Spangled Banner. Dun, 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 dun. So, yeah, I remember those. But as a kid, we grew up, bicycling. We made ramps. We had trails in the wood, that kind of thing. We just played outside until the street lights came home. So that was my, my childhood years. It wasn't a lot of, I don't consider it was a lot of drama or whatnot. Went to middle school and high school, certain area. When I got to high school, I was like, man, I don't want to go to school with the same group of people all my life. So I transferred across town to Memphis Central. And, I met a whole different group of people. There was a few people there I knew.
Hold on 1 second. You said going into high school, you realized or something made you not want to necessarily continue with the same group of people that you were with. Yeah. What was it that informed you? Because, I mean, that's honestly for a 14-year-old going into high school to think that way. There was something that was different about you there because that's not an average 14-year-old thought process. What was it?
I could tell you one of the lead. my mother, on my mother's side, my family, they travel. Like a lot of my uncles and aunts, my grandmama eventually left Duncan and went to Virginia, D.C. area.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember me and my brother, my middle brother is 4 years younger than me. We was put on a Greyhound at 12 and 8 years old, and we went to D.C. And that just blew my mind. You know, it's like from Memphis to D.C., well, it was at least a 12 to 14-hour trip, but it was
stops.
Yeah. But it was so beautiful, man. It was just, I just loved the scenery, because Memphis, when you go to Memphis, it's flat land, that kind of thing. When you come east, you go into the hills, back roads of Virginia. It was just beautiful, man. It blew my mind, man. And so I just knew I wanted to travel. I just knew I just didn't want to stay in a particular spot. And so I guess that kind of helped. And then also I was going back and forth to Mississippi a lot. So even though it was just 90 miles, it was outside of my element, out of my, comfort zone. So I just had that in me. And so I just wanted to go somewhere different. I just didn't want to go ahead.
So it seems like, travel and exposure is a concept that I use a lot. Exposure leads to opportunity. And it was like, by you being able to travel and see different things, that opened up your mind to see that the world was bigger than this crew you were hanging with or this school that you were in. But the thing that's powerful to me is the fact that at 14, that was enough for you to then take the initiative to say that I want to change my circumstance or change my environment. Yeah. That's powerful.
Yep. So that was in me. And I didn't, looking back at stuff, you were like, man, you did that. But at the time, I didn't think nothing about it, because when I first went, I was like, back in the day, it was junior high. It was like elementary, junior high. And junior high went from 6th to 9th grade, I think. And then you go to high school in the 10th. I might be wrong, but I think that's how we went to school back in the day. But when I went, I was in the 10th. This young lady, she was a senior, and she lived like a couple of blocks away from me. So I would ride with her through most of the year. When she graduated, there's this white kid that was, he lived like, I had to walk. I didn't realize until now I'm a grown man, this dude used to make me walk like a long way. I walk over his house, and he would give me a ride. But after a while, he was like, "No, we're not doing this no more," even though we was going to the same school. So I was like, okay. And I would catch the bus probably 6:30 in the morning, and I had to go across town to get to my school. So that's about an hour ride. The bus, and I was in North Memphis, Frazier. I was the first kid on. By the time we got downtown, it was packed, because most of the kids, a lot of the kids caught the bus back then to go to, certain schools or whatever. So it was standing up, people just standing packed. And I had to go. So I caught the bus, but it was cool with me. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do it. And I did that for a while or whatever, man. And Central was a kind of school, to be honest with you. There's a lot of bougie people there. A lot of people, I look at it now as like insecurity, but at the time it's kind of intimidating, because, I come from humble backgrounds, and all these kids are riding in cars, dressing in certain clothes and all that stuff. And I just couldn't keep up with it, whatever. But it was kind of intimidating when you don't have a lot of confidence in yourself. And so you in that environment. But, I got in, it was cool. And, that kind of thing. It was a really good school. It was good academically. And so it challenged me academically. But I kind of came out a little bit out of my shell. Going back, let's go back when I was in middle school. What helped me come out a little bit out of my shell, I was in a band.
Okay.
I was in a marching band. We had 130 kids in our band.
In middle school?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We was one of the best middle school. We was one of the best bands in Memphis, period.
Wow.
A.D. Cox was our band director. And man, and that's one of my regrets, because I played tenor saxophone. I started alto, and then ended up with tenor saxophone. And I played that. I was in a jazz band. I was doing solos. I mean, we marched in D.C. 4th of July parade, Philly 4th of July parade. We was going to play. We was bad, but my head was stuck in basketball.
Really?
Yeah, I was crazy, man. So I'm thinking I'm the next Magic Johnson at the time. So I'm 5'11", man, thinking I'm hoop. But the band was my calling. Music was my calling. I just didn't know. And also, again, my parents, no slight on them. They left me to my vices. This is when, I can look at it now. We have kids.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of see their gift. You kind of push them there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You don't especially when they're young, don't know, you don't let them make decisions. So I kind of just made a decision to quit the band, play basketball, and I got cut. And so I could have went on, because my band director went to another school. I could have went with him and if I stayed with him, I would have had a full scholarship somewhere in music. But again, and this is going to be another kind of recurrent thing when I go to college. So here it is again. But I was playing band in middle school, really good. And then I went to Central. And Central, I excelled in track, and I played JV basketball. I wasn't good enough for the varsity, but I was a late bloomer in basketball. I didn't start coming to my own lines in college, but I was really good at track. I did cross country. I excelled at long jumping though, and high jumping and relays. Those are the things I ran. I have a cousin. He ran to another school, and we were just talking recently about it. And he was like, "Man, I used to keep your newspaper clippings. I see you in the newspaper."
Wow.
I didn't realize I was in the paper. I was like, I'm just doing this.
You didn't realize you were in the paper?
No, I really didn't, man.
Man, I'm gonna tell you. See, maybe your mindset's a little different than mine. See, when I was in high school, it was two things. I played football and all of that. Yeah. The biggest thing for me was I used to want to have my name called by the announcer at the high school stadium. That was one. But then two, I used to always love on Saturday mornings to get the Saturday morning paper and then read clippings and see if your name's in there when you scored a touchdown or if they say anything about you and all of that. So for me, I was all about wanting to read my own headlines. That was like half of the motivation. I wanted to call Mike Dorsey with the carry, Mike Dorsey with the touchdown. That's what I wanted, and I wanted to read. You ain't even know about
man. I was in the paper. My mama kept up with that stuff.
Okay.
I was in the paper cross country. I just happened to be running, and they catch me running. Reggie Jenkins was Central. The cross country thing, my coach was really good, Coach Robinson.
Okay.
And this dude was a white guy. He was probably like 350. Big old dude.
But he was a good coach.
Push you and get the best out of you, man. But, he made me cross country for the endurance, not because I was just It was like, you could do this. When we get on this track, you're going to be all right and whatever. So that's what his mindset of. So I would run. I get trophies. I get all this stuff. I don't know if I still hold the school record for the long jump. It was almost 23 feet or something like that. But
oh, wow.
I don't know if I still have that. I got to go back to school and see if it's still up there.
Yeah, go see it. Let's see if your name's
No, man. No. It was under school, when I graduated and all that stuff. Now, it was cool and all, but I don't know. I guess I was a different bird, man. I wasn't peeping on them. My cousin was talking about, so I ran cross country. I could jump out the gym. Anybody can tell you I had a 40-inch plus vertical. So I can jump out the gym, And so that's why my coach put me in high jump and long jump and stuff like that. So it was cool. High school came out a little bit, started dating. I had a young lady who was my high school sweetheart or whatever. We dated all the way through high school. And then, again, Michael, it's crossroads. When I graduated, I was in the National Honor Society, 3-6, whatever. But again, Central was a competitive school. So anybody in the top 100, my valedictorian, I think she went to Harvard or somewhere like that. A lot of kids went to those
Ivy Leagues and everything.
Yeah. University of Pennsylvania, the Howards and all that kind of stuff. And so I didn't really have any guidance. My guidance counselor sucked. Nobody gave me guidance. My parents didn't know because they didn't go. And so a lot of people, I just didn't have that guidance. So what I did was, just like when I picked Central, I heard a friend in junior, I was like, where are you going to school? I'm going to Central. Well, let me see my mom give me a transfer. Let me go to Central and check it out. I didn't know anything about school. I just transferred because somebody else said it. Same thing with college. But, another one of my regrets is my track coach got me a scholarship to University of Memphis and Rhodes College. And my knucklehead butt just wanted to get out of Memphis. So I ended up at UT. Even after my first year, my coach was still recruiting me to come to University of Memphis run track. But I just didn't want to be there. I just didn't want to. I wanted to grow. It was something in me just like, no, you got to go. And you know what I'm saying? And so I left, came to UT. It was pretty cool, man. It was a pretty cool experience back then when I first got there. because a lot of people were friendly. There was a lot of Memphis folks.
Yeah,
UT still is. A lot of people. A lot of people I went to high school with was there and stuff. So that experience was cool. We was on a quarterly system, so it was cool or whatever. That first couple of years of college kicked my butt. Kicked my butt, man. It was like academically I would study, but I was just doing something wrong. I didn't know.
Didn't know how to study.
Yeah, how to study, how I process stuff. I just didn't know. After my freshman year, I pledged, Sigma or whatever. And I did that because of it's like anything else. A lot of people are legacies, but a lot of people go on camps, and those people who befriend them.
Who you connect with.
Yeah, and that's what happened. I just connected with the guys or whatever. So, it was 7 of us, we crossed. And then and I started opening it up a little bit. College brought a lot out of me. And to the point where I started joining committees, the Black Cultural Program committees. I started doing different things. But one of my best classes I took was a public speaking course.
Really?
Before then, yes, the best. That's who I am right now is because of that course, because it was a real estate broker who was teaching the class. Now, I'll never forget. And I still have the textbook from that course. But the first thing he did the first day, you had to get up and speak. He made you get up in front of the class and speak. And, that was the most terrifying experience, but it was a great experience, and that it opened me up. And then, a lot of your work and research had to be speeches and stuff like that. And I was a writer too, Michael. I wrote a lot of poetry. I did a lot of writing. I kind of cut that off years ago. I wish I didn't. But I was writing. It just opened me up. And then, back in the 90s, early 90s, and back in that day, it was a Black renaissance. You started discovering who you were as a person. My freshman year, I escorted Coretta Scott King.
Really?
When I was on I escorted her when I was in Black Cultural Program Committee, and she spoke. I was her escort. I escorted her. Beautiful lady.
Did you get a chance to, sit down and talk with her a little bit?
No, because it wasn't that one of those things you had time to talk. We went from one place to another. I talked to her, small talk or whatever, but I was young. What I know now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You'd have had like 55 questions, and I can get these in 45 seconds because I know your handler take you from here. But I got this window here, right?
Yeah, I'm 18, 19, whatever. Yeah. I don't know who she really is. I know her, but I don't know her. I don't know her significance. And so, whatever. Now, she's not a great speaker. I'm serious. She can sing her butt off. She is like a classically trained opera.
Absolutely.
But, she wasn't a great speaker. Her, Martin Luther King III, Maya Angelou, Jawanza Kunjufu. I met all these people, talked to them, all that kind of stuff. So it kind of opened my world up. College is great because you get to, if you participate in college experience, a lot of people go to school. That's
the biggest, you just said the key word there. If you participate, and it's a big and on top of it, and you take advantage of all the things that are available.
Yeah.
And because, and you said something there about college, and this is one of the things, the landscape of education is changing. We all know that, right? And I've really come to the conclusion that the value prop of college is no longer the information and the knowledge that you gain. It's the credential that you gain by graduating, and it's the network that you build from being associated with the people there. It's literally the network and the credential, because there's no longer a monopoly on the information. It used to be 30 years ago, you had to go to college to get this information because it was only in this textbook, and this professor had the key to unlock it. And if you don't get it from him, you can't get this information. With the internet, with your mobile technology, with sharing data, that stuff is the top's blown off of that. There's no more proprietary information. It's the network and it's the credential that you gain, which then unlocks opportunities. But you also threw in a component of taking advantage of the opportunities that are there, because most kids don't go there looking for an opportunity to meet a Coretta Scott King and actually personally have connection with her, or Maya Angelou, or like you said, Martin Luther King III. Those are things that going in, if kids understood, could really optimize their experience and actually maximize their life by taking advantage of those things.
and open people's worldviews because I work with kids. We'll get to that. But one of the things I tell the young people is, I get a big old dry erase board and then just put a small dot on there, and I tell them that's your circle. And that's your job is to just open that circle up just a little bit, and you'd be better off than most people around.
Absolutely. But we have to open the kid's mind to see the possibilities, because that's one of my big things in regards to speaking to a lot of kids. It's not even about tactically trying to tell them exactly what you need to do. The thing is, I want you to unlock the possibility and start seeing life from a different perspective, because once you start opening yourself up to opportunities start coming. And then you start worrying about, how do I tactically, understand and take advantage of this opportunity? But we got to see that opportunities are possible. And especially with our kids, with African-American kids that, some that may not come from the best environments, when survival is your day in, day out thing, you can't open your mind up to the possibility of thriving, right? But we still have, and that's why programs like you, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit, are so important. It helps kids to see the possibilities are there no matter where you come from. You got to look for them and be intentional about seeking those things. And
I think one of the big things that helped me, and you as well, we left our hometown.
Yes, big time.
I think the problem is, and you see this when you go back to Macon or wherever.
I'm from Augusta, man. Augusta. Macon or whatever. Macon. Man, Augusta, you better put some respect on Augusta. A-Town number 2.
My bad. Augusta. I will never make that mistake no more. Augusta.
You better not. Yeah, I'm just playing.
Augusta. All right. Going back home, you see a lot of the same people you grew up with, whether it be family, friends, associates, and you see the same mindset. And so I think for a lot of young people, for them, some people just have to leave in order to grow. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, UT was that, and like me and my wife, we both from UT. I mean, both from Memphis. And we share years and years of stories about going back home, seeing our folks, and they still stuck in the same mindset. They have kids and they stuck in the same mindset. But I digress. But back to UT, like I said, I struggled the first few years. It was that Black Renaissance that really helped me out. Started reading books about myself. Also, KRS-One was a big influence in my life. He came to UT and told about his story about growing up in New York, being homeless. He volunteered to be homeless at, I think, before about 14 years old, because his mother had 3 kids. She was poor and she was broke, and he realized that she can't feed all 3 of us. So he volunteered himself to leave. And he would just stay in subways and stuff like that. Wow. But one of the biggest influence on him at that time, you could hang out at the library all night.
Wow.
So he would go to the library and read, eventually start reading. And so he self-educated himself, and he started reading them all and just soaking up books and stuff like that. And, came up because he was in a group home, stayed in a group home for a minute, met his DJ, Scott LaRock. And, they bonded or whatever before Scott got killed. And, yes, sir. Hold on a second, Mike. I'm sorry. Come here.
No, you're good, man. It's look, this is Black Fathers now, man.
I got to look. My son is.
It's all good.
Me, so
what's up?
What's
up, Jabari?
Mike. Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
See, this is Black Fathers now. And again, we're fathers, so therefore our kids are part of what we do. So this is all good, man.
You have to wait a minute, buddy. I'm being interviewed, okay? Okay, you're going back in there.
Okay.
Find something to do. But
I love it, man. Look, I'm gonna tell you, I was listening to a Nipsey Hussle interview just with all the stuff after he passed. And one of the things he talked about was, his changing mindset in regards to family. And he said that he was watching old videos of Bob Marley. And he said, when you pay attention to Bob Marley, if you watch interviews, he said it's always kids running around. It's always family in the background. And he was like, that's how I want to be. So Nip said he started bringing his kid to the studio with him. So all the stuff that used to go in the studio, they at least got to go to another room and do that. Because my kid might be in an iPad over here and all of that. And so that's why I think, again, as Black fathers, yes, we're talking about stuff and we're sharing a story, but we're real in the sense that we're fathers. I mean, that's first and foremost who we are. And so when the kid comes in or you got to turn and do that, that's okay. And that's part of the show because that's who we are, brother.
Oh, I know that because I've seen your past guests. So I've seen Michael say, y'all got to excuse the noise in the back. I'm over somebody else's house and they got a group of kids. And,
they playing Dart Wars in the background and stuff. Like, whatever. But that's part of what we do.
But that period really molded me and shaped me. I started reading. School came easy for me. From kindergarten to high school, it came easy to me. And school's a ritual.
Absolutely.
You regurgitate what the teacher tells you to do. You do the homework. You study for the test. You answer the test. You keep it moving, get grades. And so college is when I really figured out, man, I got to do more than that. I got to really read and comprehend and think and research and debate and just pierce my brain. But what helped me in that journey is when I started reading about myself. Like one of the first books I read was Native Son, Black Boy by Richard Wright. And that really opened me up. And I just started reading, because that was that period of time, different world.
Absolutely.
Music was different. Queen Latifah, UNITY. We had a lot of different vibes. So education was cool. Being intelligent, knowing your history was great. And so that I got caught swept up in it. And, once I understood who I was, once I understood where I was, the next few years, I was kicking butt. And
I want to ask you something right there, because it's interesting, because you mentioned the whole concept of really learning to know or getting to know who you were, right? And it's ironic because you're a person who came from a rich family background. You had parents and grandparents, you had the city, you had the country, you had travel, you had these things. So you had this sense of family here. But even with the sense of family, did you still feel like you didn't fully know yourself?
Oh, yeah, man. Because I had people around. Just because you have mothers and fathers and people in your house don't mean you've been nurtured.
Absolutely.
And we've had issues to where, a lot of us wasn't nurtured. My father was around, but he wasn't a nurturer. He wasn't affectionate. He worked, he did what he's supposed to do. But as far as the affection, the love, I love you, all that kind of stuff, that didn't go on, and we've had, I've had discussions about that recently. And me and my cousins and stuff, I've reconnected with some family members I never really known, and we shared, but their brothers were our dads. So we compare notes and see where our granddad came from. So there's a lot of trauma, passed on from one generation to the next. And, you become a man, you become an adult. You start realizing who you were and what your deficiencies are and where they come from. And, you start looking, like when you're a child, your parents are like they divine.
That's right. That's right.
Wrong. But when you become a man, you start seeing the frailties, the weaknesses and all that kind of stuff. And so that's what, I realized, recently, it's like, this, and then you get married, so your wife sees it too. She sees it like, whoa, because you go to your wife's place, you see their family dynamic, and you see your family dynamic, like, oh, okay. You start comparing notes, the good in both, the bad in both. You can see it. And, and then you become a father, you say, okay, there's some things I got to learn how to stop doing. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm gonna tell you what's interesting about that is just the fact that, we would assume that just because the other pieces are in place growing up, that we would have a full understanding of ourselves. But the reality is you don't. And you have to go through this point of self-discovery to get to that place in which I truly, fully know who I am. And then by me fully knowing who I am, I can come into my own. That's powerful, brother.
I think, and that's we as men, like I said, Black men don't really open up to our feelings. We go into caves and stuff. Women are better because they know how to process that stuff. They, women get a problem. They get their moms, their aunts, and their cousins around the kitchen table, sisters. And, they talk about, we go into our cave. That's right. Do this. But as you grow older, it's still there. It doesn't go anywhere until you learn how to, process that stuff. And we communicate. And in my family, my wife's family, people don't talk about issues, family issues. They may talk about each other, but they don't talk to one another
about the issues.
Huh?
About you said they talk about each other, but they don't talk about the issues.
Oh yeah,
and that's an issue.
They don't talk about the issues towards each other. Like me and you brothers, and you said something crazy to me. You didn't like. You said something crazy to me, and I didn't like it. I'll mull over and talk about, man, that dude pissed me off, blah 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 blah. As opposed to say, Mac, hold up. You know what you said. I'm feeling like you disrespect me right now. Blah 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 blah. And we just come to a mutual agreement and keep it moving, or whatever. But we don't do that enough as a family. Give you a case in point. Years ago with my wife's family, we used to have these family meetings. Now Memphis is 400 miles from Knoxville, so this is before we had kids. So what we used to do is we used to go to Memphis 4 or 5 times a year, and in that we help organize the family meetings and families get together, because her family, they great socially. They'll socialize, they come together, all of them be there. But when the problems arise, people just don't talk about it. People say, well, that's person is the way he is, and they'll say something crazy and you don't say nothing to them, and people get hurt in the crossfire, and they'll call you crying about what somebody said, but they don't go to that person and say it. And so me and my wife, we're not like that type of people. So we like to express ourselves. So we organized a family meeting, and it was centered around her great grandmother, Miss Nancy Mae Johnson. She was in her 90s when she passed, but because she was the matriarch of her family. And so everything centered around her growing up until her passing. So we used to come to Memphis. We started that, and we used to do it. We did it for like 3 or 4 years at least. And, it's kind of dissolved, but that was a platform where families could sit down and talk and say, okay, let's do it in a constructive manner. Somebody get out of pocket, somebody in the family get them back in pocket. You go outside, cuss, get back in here, let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? We would have family dues, $5. We get family dues, because we was like, look, people get sick, people, a lot of family members.
Why not put something together so we have a little bucket?
Yeah, scholarship for the kids, emergency funds for sick people. People get, how it is, Mike. People die, ain't got no insurance, so people trying to bury Big Mama. Let's put this fund together.
That's right.
30 of us in this room, it's $5. We do this over a period of years. Something happened, we got some money.
Absolutely.
So that's what our attempts were. So because we realized that people don't talk. And even going back to college, when you look back at college is filled with young teenagers with all sorts of issues. And unfortunately, there are a lot of vices in college, and a lot of us turn to those vices just to cope with our issues,
as opposed to communicating.
Yeah. And because we don't know how to communicate. A lot of us didn't grow up
learn
effective communicating families. So we wish to come. Go ahead.
No, it's just like, cause when I hear your story and I see different themes, travel opened up this window for you to see that it exposed you to the opportunity that things were bigger than what you saw on a regular basis. Then this whole concept of you got to leave to grow, right? But then in college, where you figured out that was the time in which you needed to do more, but that was also in conjunction with the fact of you really going through this self-discovery process and really learning who you are, right? But then you were also never really fearing change. But then this whole thing that you came back to, in which you and your wife kind of created this platform for communication for your family to come together and basically, in essence, learn how to communicate, resolve differences, and basically build this unity, within the family itself. It's like all of these things kind of come together, and I know you personally, and it kind of gives me more of a window into who you are. But how did all of these things, all of these themes and experiences lead you into community activism, and then ultimately creating the Unique Academy, which you currently run now?
That's a good question. I left some stuff out. My father, like I said, once my father got fired and he couldn't find any employment, he went to barber school.
Okay.
And he became a barber, like 80s, and eventually had his own shop. Okay. So in that, the barber is all things to Black people.
Absolutely.
All things back to. So my father, in a sense, was like a teacher. He liked history, he liked learning. And when he learned something, we working on somebody's head, he was always debating. That's where I get it from. He always debating or whatever in the shop. And so I spent a lot of time there. And so I guess it was in my blood and in my DNA to work with kids. Even when I was in college, they would call me the young Malcolm X and all that kind of stuff. And
that's just because you militant. That's all.
Well, they called me two things, because I also was a bit of a butthole.
Uh-huh.
I was a serious butthole, but that's another story.
Okay, yeah, that's a different one.
So even in college, I was like, I had an affinity to young kids. I want to work with young people. And so I got out of school, graduated, and I was in this graduate program to where I got a degree in math and a minor in statistics. And they had this program where you can transition in grad school and teach and get your teaching certificate and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was in there for a temporary period of time, but I had to work at Selfdiscovery Green as well as go to school, the elementary school here. And so I started working in the school, I was real young and, just fresh out of college, whatever, on my own or whatever. And it was just, being in that environment was cool. Mm-hmm. And it was crazy because I was the only black male in the school outside of the janitor, maybe just the janitor.
Wow.
No other black men. And it was a predominantly black elementary school, mostly white teachers. They had quite a few black teachers then, but they didn't have no men, black men in particular. And so I distinctly remember this. I teased some of the people I used to work with. They still around. All the women got me in this room and said, okay, now don't you touch this, don't you do this. These little girls, don't do that. They just gave me the whole rundown. And they was very protective of me.
Gotcha.
I mean, I had like a village.
Uh-huh.
You talk about, I stepped out of one scene into another scene, and I had a whole village watching over me. The secretary, the assistants, the teachers. If I was hungry, I was struggling, they had food. Like, here, you can have something. They just kind of watched over me and took care of me. And I remember one incident, this one lady accused me of doing something to her son. Man, you would thought a swarm of bees came on that lady because it was about 15 sisters was all up in that jail. Because I wouldn't, he wasn't even around the person and blah, blah, blah. How can you come into school? Because you have certain parents who think they can just come into school and run the schools.
Absolutely.
Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
They're always at the school. I don't know what they doing today, but they always at the school.
Absolutely.
And so, she accused me of doing something physical to the point where I had a frat brother who was over school securities. And they was like, man, she's trying to arrest you, man, put a warrant out on you. Mm-hmm. And, but I had protection, I didn't do anything. So, but that was that. And so from there, I volunteered with the Urban League used to have, it used to be called Black Achievers. I think it's Young Achievers now, but it's Black Achievers back in the day. This back in the mid-90s. We would take them to college. I was volunteer with Eastside YMCA. It's not the Eastside Y now, but we used to do parties over there. So all that time just led up to me just saying, I would create curriculums for other programs. So me and my wife, we just be volunteering and helping out. We had a good friend, Donna Worthy. She was running a program. We help her out, all that stuff. So it was it was a natural gravitate to kids. I remember, working at Selfdiscovery Green, and these kids weren't going on field trips and nothing. I was like, this is crazy. So I made my own field trip slip outside of school.
Wow.
Right about, 8 to 10 kids to tour the UT and got the parents' permission.
Wow.
Found out some presentation and took them to UT and we just walked around the campus. These are like 3rd and 4th graders. Just walk around. Because I was like, man, they just sitting in the classroom all day long. Come on. Let's do something else.
But you know what? That goes back to the whole concept of exposure leads to opportunity and how travel helped to open your mind. And travel doesn't mean you got to go to a different place. Yeah. Sometimes it's just a different area in your own town and seeing things from a different perspective. But that's what you were imparting into them. That's powerful, man.
And so, all those years of doing different things, I had meeting different people. It's amazing, man, because you don't know your impact until these kids get grown and they come at you or whatever. So, but I did that. And then it was just something in me, man, because a lot of the programs I saw babysit these kids. There was really nothing in putting something in these children. and help them with their deficiencies, whether it be academic, emotional, whatever. And so I had a brainchild in my mind, and I don't know, I played with acronyms back in the day. I did a lot of different things, man. I used to be a picture framer back in the 90s.
Okay.
When I had a job, I had a hustle. I never just depended on a job. I was always doing something outside of the job. And so I used to picture frame. I called my company Peace Designs. Positive education always corrects errors. So peace. And so I used to have a little peace sign on it and all that stuff. And I would travel back and forth to Atlanta because back in the day, and it's still just today, they had these wholesale places. Yep. Where you can buy all this stuff, T-shirts and all this stuff wholesale, so long as you have a business license and all that stuff, and come back and sell it at retail. And so, you know, I went to an older white guy near the street, down the street from me. He's like, man, I want a picture frame. I said, you have a shop. How do you do it? He said, you buy a miter saw box, did it, and just go out and start practicing. This is where you buy your supplies. And I just started practicing and doing it, buying stuff. And I got good at it. And back in the 90s, black art was popping.
That's right. Right.
So, I mean, people were buying art. I was selling it. I was framing their pictures, glass. I was doing all that. I was in an apartment with my wife. Had glass everywhere. She didn't like it, but it is what it is. I'm sitting there hustling.
There you go. Make it happen.
And so we did that. And let me give you the story first. When I met my wife, you know, it was like 93. I think I met her summer 93. And she was from Memphis. I was from Memphis. We didn't know that. And I was in that grad program, but I had 3 jobs. So again, I was in grad school and I was hustling.
You said you're from Mississippi. Sound like you might be from Jamaica.
I don't know. It's in my blood, man.
I know. I'm just playing with you, man.
It's in my blood. So, you know, I did that and we got together, whatnot. And, you know, but she was like, that was one thing attracted her to me. I mean, what attracted her to me was I had all this drive and this hustle. And so and then, you know, I had substance behind it. So, but the beautiful thing about it, all my hustles, I've been through a lot. She was always there. You know, that's when I knew I was like, I got somebody I got to keep.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, a lot of people, I mean, and I didn't have a lot of money. You know, I lived in an efficiency apartment and I didn't have much, but I had drive. I was like, I know where I'm going. You know, I'm always going on to the next. I'm not going to stay down. I might get down, but I ain't going to stay down. And so over the years, but, you know, I would try all these different things, but something about children always stuck with me. So I worked with Sarah Green for 3 years. I got out. I subbed for a couple more years, but it was just something in me that said, man, there's a need here for our children.
Absolutely.
That's not being fulfilled. And so I started Unique Academy. United Way had this free class on how to start a nonprofit. I went. They had a legal aid department. Talked to the guy. I filled all my paperwork out. I did everything. I did all the business plan for the IRS, the charter from the state. I went through all that, man. I did all that. And the funny thing is I had a friend, he's a mentor. He used to work for the Urban League. And it's funny, he was working in the city at the time. And nonprofit. He works at the Urban League now, Terrence Carter. And he was like, man, this is how you do it. Because he did it before. I was like, because I'm the type of person, if you want something, you got to ask. Close mouth, don't get fed.
That's right.
So he showed me how I did it. You know, started in 2003. The Urban League was instrumental in my start. They let me use their facility at the time. I had maybe 8 to 10 boys. I had a pickup truck, you know, and I would get them 2 or 3 times a week because I had connections with the schools. I can get the kids.
Absolutely.
Write letters, parents, meet with the parents, whatever. And have these boys, had them back and pick up. We meet. I didn't know what I was doing back then, but I was just trying. But
the thing is, you came from a sincere place of you saw a void that you really wanted to fill in regards to these young men. And Unique Academy has spawned into not just serving young men now, but it came from a very honest and very sincere place. And coupled with your experiences and your inspirations, you were set forth to go and do something great, even if you didn't have it all figured out from the jump. But nobody does when you get started. And one of the things I want you to kind of touch on, though, is unique is not spelled like regular unique. It's spelled UUNIK. Explain a little bit, because you also mentioned that you play with acronyms and everything.
Yeah.
That's
where I got it from.
Yeah. So let us know what it means.
Yes, UUNIK is 5 of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. U, umoja meaning unity, Ujamaa, cooperative economics, Nia's purpose, Imani, faith, and Kuji Chagalia, self-determination. And so that's how I came up with the unique, because I always play with acronyms. And I wanted something that was culturally based, academic based, but culturally based, and it was unique. And I don't know anybody else that has that name. So I created Unique Academy. We did that. And we went through a lot of transformations from 2003 to now. But it was just about finding my place in the world, trying to figure out this thing on my own. Not on my own, because I did start a 501c3, you got to have a board and all that kind of stuff. And I did it in rough terrain, because Knoxville is a very hard place. If you can make it in Knoxville, you can go anywhere in the world and buzz it out. But so we did that. And again, it's always a village. It's always somebody supporting me. I am not an island. And so, I started that, working with kids exclusively. And then I would have requests from other kids like, well, what about me? What about me? What about me? So I was like, I can't work with everybody. So I created, in 2006, Calling All Males Youth Conference. And I started at Vine, rented Vine out for a Saturday. I got 35.
Vine Middle School.
Vine Middle School.
In Knoxville, Tennessee. Yeah.
Thank you.
The middle school in Knoxville. Yeah. So, when you have conversations, people forget this ain't a local thing. These people all over the world listening. So, yeah. But
so Vine Middle School, magnet school, started with 35 kids. I got about 10 men to come volunteer. We would do various workshops in the school with the kids, self-esteem, self-respect, financial literacy, law enforcement, physical health, mental health, anything like that. So we have various workshops starting in 2006. And then what happened was the girls would hit me up and it's like, well, why you can't do this for us? Because at the time there was no program for young ladies. So I started Calling All Females in 2008. And I still do the Calling All Males currently, but the Calling All Females I had to stop because I went through another transformation. We stopped that in 2017. Our last Calling All Females Youth Conference. But, we did that. And then I started in 2009. I started doing a college career fair at Vine Middle School, magnet school in East Knoxville. And we're still currently doing that. We get the whole school for that. And what we started off originally in 2009 was I would have people go into classrooms. You was there, Mike. Go into classrooms and speak to a group of kids. And now what we do is more like a college and career fair. Yes, sir. Come here. I'm sorry, interruption.
It's okay. No interruption. Yes. I said, you dad, brother.
Don't worry about TV. Use the iPad.
Again, this is all about Black fathers now. And right now, he's a daddy as well as a brother getting interviewed on this podcast. So it's all good. So yeah, we did that. And my goal for the college career fair is to expose Black kids to Black professionals. I heard Charles Barkley on a podcast recently, and and he was talking about his experiences growing up and all that stuff, and as a professional. And one thing he still gets speaking engagements and stuff like that. And he said when he goes to a white school, predominantly white school, he asks the audience, "What do you want to become?" Less than 5% says anything related to sports. He said, but he'll go to a predominantly Black school, high school, and 95% of the kids talking about they want to be a rapper, football player, basketball player, the boys in particular. And he just saw that dynamic, and he's like, so he started in his hometown in Alabama, he started investing in trades and other skills like that. Wow. But because I felt the same way here when I was working with kids, and everybody wanted to be a basketball player and all that stuff. And I was like, man, it's too many Black professionals in this town that these kids don't get to see on a regular basis. So my mission was to get them in front of them
at middle school.
Powerful.
I didn't want to do it in high school because a lot of times high schoolers, they know it all. You can't tell them nothing, whatever. And they have to bump their head in life a while before they may get it. So in middle school, it's earlier, so they're more impressionable. So I want to expose the Black businessmen, the Black doctors, the Black accountants, the Black lawyers, the Black politicians to a local middle school.
That's extremely important because it helps to create social proof of what's possible. Just like your travel and being exposed to a different environment help you to see what's possible. What you're providing and what you're creating with the career fair for the middle school kids helps them to open up that mindset to the possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and that's that. And so it transformed from being, going classroom, and a new principal came around. She came up with a great idea. She said, let's just do it in the cafeteria and get all different classes, like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, to come in at different times and how these vendors set up. And so I do it in conjunction with Jack and Jill, Greatest Schools Partnership, Project Grad, and Vine Middle Magnet School. And we get all the kids to come through, and we get over 30 vendors. Fire, and it's a Black lady. She's a fire captain. I think she recently retired. She come through. We get Denso manufacturing. They used to bring this robot who played Connect Four against the kids. KUB, Knoxville Utility Board. So the kids can understand that if college ain't your thing, here's some jobs in the utilities and construction that you can do. Whatever.
Absolutely.
Policemen, firemen, banks. We get business owners. We bring local high schools in, colleges, TSU, University of Tennessee reps big there. And so we just try to get the kids early and start thinking, plant that seed earlier as the possibilities of what they can do. But I love it because we have a lot of Black people that sign up and they can see, oh, I got a Black representative in my area. I got this in my area. Yes, sir. Okay, go ahead. Okay. And then we have all these representatives in our area. And so, that's what we want with the college career fair. And I've served since 2003, we served over 2,500 kids.
Wow.
With various programs.
Wow. And so you mentioned the career fair, the calling all males, calling all females, but then also last year you started this summer program, this intensive summer program that actually my son participated in. And I was just talking to two parents today whose kids are in the program as well, how powerful it was. Yeah. But you started this thing called STEAMY. Talk a little bit about STEAMY, because to me, this thing right here is changing the game, as well as
what happened was, like, years ago, up until the birth of my son, maybe a year into the birth of my son, I would work with kids on a weekly basis. I would have kids at least 2 or 3 times, 4 times a week. But being married, and at the time I had a corporate job. I was at Coca-Cola, account manager at Coca-Cola. So juggling Coca-Cola, wife, kid, and working with kids in the evening, some had to go.
That's right.
So I had to stop working with the kids, and what also happened, that kids would get a certain age and they'll just stop coming. At high school, they want to do this, they want to do that, which is fine. And so I kind of shut down working in the evenings. But what we did was, we said, I think it was 2017 when we started. We said, okay, let's get a group of these kids in the summertime and let's see where we can work with them and see what we can do. And so we came up with this thing called STEAMY Summer Institute. Years ago, we used to meet at the technology cooperative your frat brother Eric Johnson had. Eric go back to UT. And so he had this space. He was like, man, I got this space. You can meet there. You got to worry about, I give you the key, that kind of thing. So we will meet there. So that summer, we would start meeting there, and it was technologically based. So I'm like, STEM is the future. STEM is now. So let's create something that helps with academics, but at the same time, introduce these children to STEM-related learning. And so we created STEAMY, and STEAMY stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, Math, Innovation. So maybe it was 2016 when I started, but 2 years ago, what happened was, I used to have, in 2017, I would have elementary and middle school kids. And it wasn't going so well with the middle school kids. because I had a lot of behavior issues.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about 8th, 9th graders who were not on a 3rd or 4th grade reading and math level.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then you dealing with the parents, it was just too difficult to catch them up in that period of time. It was just too much of a strain.
Mm-hmm.
So me and the people that work with me said, like, we're going to cut out the middle school and just go strictly elementary.
Mm-hmm.
So last year we did it from 5 to 12. And now we cut the 11 to 12 years off, and we're doing it 5 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so STEAMY is an initiative. What we do is a 7-week program from June 3rd to July 26th. It's 7 weeks. On time we don't meet is in the week
4th of July.
The 4th of July. And we get the kids together. And it's like I said, the first part is strong academic foundation. You know, the middle school, the 4-year-olds, the kindergartens and all that stuff. We want to provide a strong foundation with them, the phonetic skills, the writing skills, the sight words and all that stuff. Make sure they read well. Math is strong. Social, we work on the social skills, work on discipline, at the team building. You know, the first couple of weeks of kids are like, well, I ain't gonna have that problem this year because a lot of my kids that came last year is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So the first couple of weeks, them new kids are like, I don't want to be here. They fighting and crying and stuff. But after then, it's like a family. These kids love each other. They bond. The parents love it. And like I said, we want to build strong leaders of tomorrow, but it starts in elementary school.
Absolutely.
We want our children, and these are all boys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's all boys, at least 20 boys. We want these boys to. The problem I want with the kids in STEAMY after a couple of years is the teachers say, well, he knows all this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do with him. I want that problem because it's the school's job. If a child is advanced, it's their job to make them either move them up a grade or give them something that's going to challenge their brains, as opposed to in Knox County, 80% of Black students between the 3rd grade and 8th grade are not proficient in reading.
Wow.
And math is close. It's a close statistic. 70-something% of them are not proficient in math. Less than 3% of our kids in between 3rd and 8th grade have mastered reading, math, science, chemistry.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
So it's a need. So in essence, the STEAMY Summer Institute is definitely a need. But the thing that's so powerful about what you're talking about, a lot of us look at this scaled 4, 5, 6 years later. So we're thinking about that mid-high school level kid or that middle school kid. What you're doing is you're really setting those foundational principles in place by dealing with the, pre-K through 4th or 5th grade, and you're getting them there and getting those principles in place so that as they then traverse through middle and high school,
they're gonna wear it out.
They're gonna wear it out. And I think that's something for the brothers listening that are in different parts of the country to really take a step back and listen to what Reggie's talking about. As guys, we tend to want to gravitate to the older kids. I think most of the time how we have this thing set up, the women deal with the young ones. The guys deal with, once they get 13, 14, start smelling themselves, they send them over to the guys, right? Yeah. But you're doing something unique, no pun intended, with the UNIQ Academy, and specifically with the STEAMY summer camp, STEAMY summer academic program, where you're focusing on that younger demographic. Yeah. And it's men leading that, which is pretty much an anomaly in our society. Yeah. Pay attention to that, fellas.
Yeah, if people think about it, 90% of public schools teachers are women, and most of whom are white. I don't care if you're in Detroit, Atlanta, wherever you are, unless you got a charter school or private school, something like that. Most of the public schools are, and so our children, and elementary school is a precious time for them to see men. Anytime is precious to see them, but the elementary age, that's the least likely time they'll see a man teaching them.
Absolutely.
And so STEAMY, what we do, again, we have men teaching. It's all men. I even employ teenagers to come in and help out and be assistants. So
that's powerful too.
And then we bring in various men in the community. Mike D comes in. Mr. Willie's a retired electrical engineer. We have business people come in, and they can see all these various people. And also, we have a Spanish teacher. She comes in and teaches the boys Spanish. She'll be back. I got an art teacher this year. She's going to do art. She's a great artist, Howard Ware. She's very good. she's going to do a class weekly. And I got somebody else, she's going to do a financial aid piece, just teaching the basics of money or whatever. She's going to come in weekly. So I want to make it a community thing to where our children are not only getting the academic stuff right, but they're learning science, technology, arts, math, financial literacy, all those things in the afternoon.
Holistic development, holistic growth, and it starts young. Again, typically we wait until they're 16, 17, 18, about to go off to college or finish high school to start instilling these things in them. STEAMY and Unique Academy in itself is aiming to and is actually putting into practice doing that on a younger level so that these kids start with those foundations. And so, and I'm gonna tell you fellas, if you want to get some clips and see some of the things that are going on, make sure, and I have all his information in the show notes, you got to follow him on social media and go to the website. I mean, there are clips, there's videos, there's images and pictures of STEAMY, of the kids reciting, ACT words and just
some ACT words.
I'm gonna tell you, and I can be a testimonial, man. My son last year was going into kindergarten, and so he would come home and start dropping like 3 and 4 syllable ACT words with the definition on what it means, and it would blow people's mind that this little 5-year-old who hadn't even started kindergarten yet was able to use these words in context, man. And so it literally works, but the biggest thing that's so powerful about it is it shows social proof of what is possible. These young brothers, and the fact that other brothers are empowering, teaching, and inspiring them to be the best version of themselves, and they can see themselves in the teachers. Extremely, extremely powerful. And so Reggie, so talk to us. Okay, so Unique Academy is a 501c3, so people can support, they can donate, they can check it out. What's the best way for folks to, if they want to ask you questions and connect with you, what's the best way for them to do so, man?
Oh, it's a number of ways. You can go to our website, uunikacademy.org. You can go to the contact page and I'll get an email and I'll contact you.
Okay.
Or you can call 865-384-4475. That's 865-384-4475, excuse me. We have a Facebook page. We have an Instagram page. I'm not a big Twitter. We have a Twitter, but I'm not big on Twitter.
Okay.
So those various things. One other thing before we go, Mike, I want to also tell people we do an ACT prep as well.
That is humongous. And talk about the nuance with that again, scaling it back a little bit, man. This is powerful.
Now ACT prep, and we just finished this in April, and we did it March 3rd. We do it twice a year, spring and fall, and in the spring it's four Saturdays, in the fall it's 5 Saturdays, and the mission is to give our children strategies to master the ACT. A lot of times they get this one-day class and they go through it. Now I want our children to master it. And what we target is 8th, 9th, and 10th graders. I even have 7th graders in my class. In the state of Tennessee, you can take the ACT at 13. So I want these kids to go through the experience. I do a exit interview with our parents. We come up with strategies over the summer, how they can make it. Well, I know if a parent and a child take the class and do all the things we ask them to do, because I'm gonna give you an example, Mike. What I tell my youth and my parents, they start off in our class. I say, look, I make them sign a contract. I said, you tell me how much time you can spend a day doing ACT, minimum of 15 minutes. Because I said, if you give me 15 minutes over a 5 or 6 week period, that's 10 and a half hours of studying. If you do this every day.
Absolutely.
Doesn't have 15 minutes to prepare. We give them the math cheat sheet. We give them an English cheat sheet. We give them all the formulas that's going to be on this test. We teach them how to program the calculator for the math section. We give them everything, and my teachers are excellent because a lot of Black kids don't get this prep. Preps, ACT preps are usually for the upper middle class, predominantly white, some Blacks or whatever, they get prep. But our kids don't get that prep. I didn't get prepped. And a lot of people, my peers didn't get prepped. We just took it. And I want to get them trained early. If I got an 8th grader, I tell them, parents, take at least 2 times. Let them take a break, come back in the 10th grade, and we want 30s. I want our children to go to school for college. If college is your mission, I want you to go for free.
Absolutely.
Only thing the parents should be paying for is toiletries, clothes, all that kind of foolishness, laptops and all that. But tuition and books, no.
That should be taken care of if you do what you're supposed to do. But go back. So one of the things you emphasize is that your ACT prep course is not for or not geared towards like juniors and seniors in high school. It's geared towards that 7th grader to 10th grader, which is extremely powerful because again, our mindset is we don't even think about the ACT or any type of standardized test until it's the year that we graduate. Right? And so that's why I really think that it's extremely important to emphasize that, because that's a paradigm shift and a mindset thing that needs to be shaped and needs to be rethought, especially as it pertains to young African-American folks who are growing up currently in our society.
It's similar to the college career fair, man. We have to get out of this mindset. If you have a child, I'll give you a classic example. Richard Williams, Venus and Serena's father. He had a book out, and I can't think of the name of the book, but it's a great read for anybody out there. When those babies were born, he had the vision. He already knew when they was in the womb what he had vision for his daughters.
Absolutely.
And from the time they got out, they came out. I remember reading about he had Venus and Serena, because he was a businessman. He never worked. He had them delivering papers and stuff at 4 and 5 years old. Absolutely. The mother protested because she thought they were too young, but he already saw what he wanted for his children. And so I think that I think all of our children are intelligent. Absolutely. Everybody's not college material, but everybody's intelligent.
That's it, 100%.
But a child, you got 2 children, you can see the gift already when they come out the womb, toddlers, they gravitate to certain things.
But we have to cultivate that intelligence, and we can't wait until they become dang near adults to start cultivating it. I think, fellas, if you don't get anything else from this journey, from this story, from this life's mission that's coming into fruition to impact thousands of kids on an annual basis, understand the fact that the importance of cultivating that intelligence in that child, in that son, in that daughter that you have is extremely important. But don't wait until they're old and you're trying to figure out if they're going to be okay in life. Start cultivating it now, because there are, what do they say? Greatness leaves cues, or success leaves cues, or leaves, so to that point, your kids, their greatness, their
crumb trails. It's like crumb trails. It's like if your kid got into the cabinet, you get up in the middle of the night, you see crumb trails, and them crumb trails going to lead you to the culprit.
That's right. That's right. But hey, we look at that from a negative side, but on the positive side, when you start seeing these strands of something, feed that thing. I'm always about, when I see a little fire burning, I'm gonna pour a little bit of gasoline on that fire to see if this bad boy can blow a little bit. And and Reggie, you're doing that with the Uunik Academy, man, with the ACT prep, with the Steamy Summer Institute, with Calling All Males. You used to do Calling All Females. That may come back at some point, but you were doing that. And this career fair, man, and it's all geared towards the younger demographic of our kids, man, inspiring, showing them what's possible, opening up that exposure piece. Man, I commend you for what you do. And fellas listening, I know ladies listen too, as always. Make sure you all check out Uunik Academy, his website, uunik.org, as well as following him on social media. I'm going to have all of his stuff in the show notes. Or you can even call. You can call 865-384-4475. Connect with this brother. See how you can support. If you can support, do so. If you want to learn from him, holler at him. He's been doing this for almost 30 years. Do so, man, because this thing, what he's doing, needs to be copied and pasted in every.
Well, you know what, Mike? It's funny that you said that, because that's what my goal is, to create a system. And because I had somebody contact me in Nashville, about it. And I even have a lot of women here like, can you do something for my girls like you do in the summertime? I said, if I got the money and the resources, I can make it happen. It's just, everything is about capital and resources.
That's right. Well, let's fellas listening, Connect with this brother. Let's make this thing happen. But literally, you don't have to believe what we're saying. Go to the website, follow on social media, take a look. There's proof that shows you what's going on, and definitely get out, support, learn from. But then use this to inspire you to not wait, to start cultivating that greatness in the young people.
Yes.
And you know, before we leave, man, you know, you're a dad as well. And what's interesting is you started all of this stuff prior to becoming a dad.
Yeah.
My last question to you, how has all of this, creating the Uunik Academy and doing this community activist work, how has this all come back to impact you and influence you as a father?
Oh, man, I think it helped bring the nurturing side out of me. You know, growing up young man, again, the men in my family are not nurturers, and not, you know, they go to work and all, but they don't show love and they don't show affection. And so by working with young people, you got to, I mean, I just couldn't turn away a little kid running up to me and hugging me.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I had to learn how to open that up to myself, you know, and I had to learn how to be patient. You know, if I had a kid at 25, my kid probably may hate me right now because I didn't have the patience. You know, the love was there, but I was a whole different person then than I am now. So it taught me how to be patient with kids. It taught me how to communicate. It taught me how to say, okay, if I can work with other kids and teach them, I can teach my son. Because currently me and my wife, we homeschool our boy. And so, you know, I had to learn patience. I had to learn, you know, I had to reevaluate things. Children are the best teachers in the world. Absolutely. All the time we thinking it's the adults, but it's the children. If you listen to them and if you humble yourself, your child is teaching you a whole lot. They tell you how they feel. They see things you don't see about yourself. And so I had to eat some humble pie, and I was ready. So when I had a child, I'm not perfect. Now, I make a lot of mistakes. My child and my wife will tell you that. But, you know, it's the effort and the love is there. You know what I'm saying? Because my child is very affectionate, man. It's like this little dude expresses himself well, very affectionate, going to let you know how he feel. You know, when he needs you, he needs you. You know what I'm talking about.
That's it. And I'm going to tell you what's interesting about what you just said there. It's interesting how you said growing up, the men that influenced you were not the most affectionate.
Yeah.
You got these experiences dealing with everybody else's kid. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you had a son who ends up being a very affectionate son. Yeah. It's amazing how this thing works, ain't it?
Man.
That's awesome, brother. Awesome. And my man, you know, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule and dealing with my technical.
Man, I supposed to been on here a year ago, man.
You know what? We're gonna shut it off right now because I've been coming after you for the last year. You're like, man,
oh my God,
you don't want to talk to me. I'm like, man, if you don't get on with that, man.
But I love this show, though, man. I had to give it kudos. Black Fathers Now, follow you all. I love this. It's a great platform. You're doing a great job, man. So I just want to shout you out, man. You're doing you know a lot of folks too. I like this dude's well connected.
We're working at it, man. One relationship at a time, brother. Hey, what you know or who you know is who knows you. Dig that. And now look, dig this. Now all the family of Black Fathers Now knows Reggie Jenkins with Uunik Academy. So you can add us. We're already part of your network, but you can officially add us to your network.
Take you off the list now.
There you go, man. So, fellas, as always, make sure you follow Reggie Jenkins, support him, connect with the Uunik Academy. I'll have all the contact information in the show notes. Give him a call, follow on social media, reach out to the brother, man, see what they have going on, and learn, support. And if you want to establish something like this in your city, holler at your boy. Let him know, man. And make sure to let him know you heard about him on Black Fathers Now, for sure. And yo, as always, y'all make sure to follow Black Fathers Now on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Visit blackfathersnow.com. This episode is brought to you by Black Family Apparel. Grab some dope apparel that celebrates the nuances of the Black family. And literally, share this episode. A lot of resources, a lot of gems dropped here, especially if you're from Memphis representing, right?
No, that's not how we talk down there.
Man. That's how you talk. Maine, I gotta say Maine. Memphis representing Maine.
Maine, yep, John.
That jump, Maine. Okay, all right, Maine. If you're from Memphis, Maine, make sure you really share this thing out because one of the home team is really representing and showing out and doing his thing here in Knoxville. Even though he's originally from Memphis and representing Mississippi, born in Germany. I learned that today, didn't I? But y'all definitely share this thing out, man. A lot of wisdom here, and utilize it to grow, to develop, and become the best version of yourself. And fellas, until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise, and we'll holler at you. Peace.